all of a sudden he said that he thought that somebody came through the house and shot the window out. Like it was like an explosion. Oh, hi guys. It feels so weird to be doing like such a drama video. Like a nightmare. Maybe because I've had time to process and it doesn't feel as like, is this real life? Are we being punked as it did while it was all unfolding? I'm at the point now where I'm at like the laughing phase, you know, like you're just like, of course this is gonna happen. What more do you have? And I'm also really thankful to be home, so maybe that's why I'm taking this all in stride. I'm not sure. Anyways, as promised, I want to fill you guys in with everything that happened with our Mexico trip. I have my good old phone out with me today because I have notes on things that I just didn't want to forget because there's a laundry list. So I don't even know how long this is gonna be. I apologize if it's long-winded. You know me, I love to, without further ado, let's get started. And you know what? I have a glass of wine today. Oh my God, I forgot to spray my roots. Shit. 1 minute. Okay, feel a little bit better. Okay, where was I? Okay. Even though I have notes, I feel like I still don't even know where to start because it's just like everything. So, okay. I'm gonna try to start from the beginning. Maybe I'll start with like why we wanted to move in the first place because it was a question I got a lot. So the whole reason for the Mexico trip was because it's something my husband has always wanted to do. His dream is like retiring, living the Mexico life. So that's kind of always been the plan. And when COVID happened, we were just kind of like, all right, well, like what are we waiting for? If we both have jobs where we can prepare for like a temporary move, see how it goes. Since we're just kind of like isolated and being kept away from our family and friends anyways, why not do it in the sun, getting a tan, relaxing, being able to go into a pool. I guess the idea was just like, what are we kind of waiting for? Since life threw a curveball there for everybody and it was just kind of like we just never know what's going to happen or when we could have those opportunities. So last winter is when we started preparing and saving to be able to do this move. Fast forward to, I think, early 2021, we found a place. We were absolutely in love with it. It was a property that was in the middle of a sale. So we were in touch with we were actually in touch with the previous owners, and then we were in touch with the new owners because the previous owners had let the new owners know that there were renters who were wanting to lock it down for 6 months. So they were all excited, good to go, and then it came time for possession to take over with the new people, and they decided that they weren't really ready to have like long-term renters in there yet, which is fair. I mean, it's their property, so it was kind of disappointing because we really fell in love with the property and we were so excited about it, but it is what it is. So we found another one, and it took quite a while to find one that suited our budget, suited the amount of rooms that we needed because my dad also came out with us. So we finally find it. And right from the beginning, there were definitely red flags. The whole thing that started was we were hoping, since we were doing like a long-term rental, instead of paying for like a day or for like a week, we could pay, you know, like per month and see what kind of like deals there are. Like sometimes if you do like an Airbnb long-term, it's like, okay, well, instead of such and such a day, we'll do it for this amount a day because you're going to be there for like 30 days. So we had worked that out. We were like, okay, well, we're going to stay there for 6 months. So this is the price that we are going to pay for the 6 months. Also really important to note, we were dealing with a property manager who was communicating with the owners of the house. So there was like a bunch of people involved, as well as one of our friends who lives out there who was doing like some of the negotiating for us in Spanish. Although I'm learning Spanish, I'm not at like the negotiating aspect of it yet. So a price was agreed on. They were like, okay, yeah, that sounds fair. And then we also offered that since we were staying long term and in order to have like a better price, we would have it paid all in full before we arrived, so that on our end, we had nothing to worry about. On their end, they had nothing to worry about. Like, we were locked in. So that was part of the agreement. That's really important. So all great. Everything's agreed upon. And Brent is to send a deposit the following day, which he does. So he lets the property manager know he sent the deposit, and he gets a text back. She's like, okay, I got it, but like, where's the rest? He was like, what do you mean? Like, it's 1 month's rent. She's like, oh no, sorry, we meant 2. So Brent says like he does not remember that being discussed. I also think like it's a little bit weird that all of a sudden, it, you know, like more money was being requested, because usually it's not like I want 2 months in advance to like lock down a place. But we were like, hey, whatever, like maybe we just misunderstood that. It's all good. Not worth questioning. We'll send the rest of it by the end of the week. So we did. Everything seems to be good. They said they received it, and then Brent had requested that they send video of the property, since we're not able to do like an actual walkthrough. We were just wanting to like get a feel of what was gonna be there. Like, it was advertised that it was furnished, but we were like, hey, well, what does that include? Like, is there gonna be linens for the beds? Do we get towels? Do I have to plan on buying new dishes and cutlery? So she kind of just kept putting it off. She'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry, I'll get to it this week, and then nothing. Yeah, sorry, I got caught up. I'll get to it this week, and then nothing. So this went on for about 2 months. Meanwhile, Brent is still, you know, sending money, chipping away at the 6 months rent that we need to have, holding up his end of the agreement. The date is like getting closer, and he asks again. He's like, you know, we really need a video. We need to know what we're preparing for here. And I also want to see in my father-in-law's casita, because my dad had like a little, kind of like a little apartment on the property. He needed to know what to plan for. So she was like, oh, sorry, yeah, I can't do it right now. I'm on vacation. So he gives her a couple weeks, and at this point then he calls our friend out there, and he's like, listen, I don't really know what to do. We've been asking for this video. What the heck is going on? You know, like, now I'm kind of feeling like we're getting a little bit strung along. Like, was this a scam? So our friend calls, and she basically comes clean, and she's like, sorry, I lied. I wasn't on vacation. I can't get into the property because the owners have their family there, and they're not letting us in. Naturally, Brent is a little bit upset, because he's like, why lie? You know, like, why not just say, oh, I can't get in there right now. Like, there's people in there. It just, like, it was like stringing us along. Also, I forgot to mention, like, in between those like lapses in time where she wasn't really like not holding up her end of the bargain. There was no agreement for it. But like, when we were asking her for like video, she's saying no. And then she's like, oh, do you think like you're able to send money this week? And Brent was just like, okay, sure. You know, just to make it perfectly clear, there was no date set. Like, okay, you need to pay this amount every week or every month. It was, you know, like on or before the date of move-in, it would be paid. So then I started feeling uncomfortable, because I'm like, why is she asking you to pay money when, you know, for all they know, we're just going to show up on the doorstep, exchange the keys, and give them their money. So Brent just says, you know, how uncomfortable he is about the situation, and she quickly turns it around, and she gets really saucy with him, like yells at him a little bit on the phone, and she's like, I don't know what you're implying. I don't know what scam you're pulling. And it's like, honey, we're giving you our money. What kind of scam are we pulling? Like, we're in Canada. Our hands are tied. Like, you already have a decent amount of our money committing to this place. So anyways, he did not like being called like a scammer. And we had to talk to her boss. Then she was like, oh, it must be miscommunication. Anyways, finally we get a video, and I'll see if we have it, because it's like, it's nothing that we needed. Like, I was very specific. What's included? Can you bring us through the kitchen and show us what type of like dishes there are, or cups, or, you know, cutlery, and make me like, allow me to see like firsthand what I might need. Go through all the rooms so I kind of know like what I'm planning for in terms of like equipment that I'm gonna bring to film and all of that stuff. Anyways, the video, she's like, hi Brent, like, we're here at the house. She's in the backyard, and she's like, and see, everybody is busy getting the house ready for you and your family. And it's like, There's no one there. Like, which is like even funnier now, just based on like the condition of the house when we arrive.
And everybody's working to make it prettier for you and your family.
So one thing I noticed though in the video is that there was this big, massive tarp that was covering like the windows, like sliding open doors leading out into the backyard. And so she said that they were up because there were hurricanes that were going to come through, and they just wanted to like protect the glass. All good. So at this point, even though we still had no idea what we were bringing or expecting going in there, it was just like, we were like, never mind, you know, like we're getting so close to the trip. We're just going to deal with it when we get there. We planned to just have to do like a big Costco and like Walmart run to get all of those little things. And then less than 12 hours before we leave, this means that like we have left our house. We were actually just moving like the last piece of our house. We're getting ready to go and spend the night at my mom's house, just about to sit down to have dinner, and Brent gets a text and it says, "We have a problem," and it's from the property manager. Brent's like, "Okay, what's the problem?" And she's like, "The house isn't ready for you, but we have another property close by that we can put you in." Brent's like, "Okay, well, I'm, super confused because 2 weeks ago you sent us a video saying that you guys were busy preparing this house. You've also had this whole week to tell us like if you were feeling like it wasn't going to be on schedule. Why are you telling me 12 hours before I'm supposed to get on a flight, less than 12 hours actually, before I'm supposed to get on a flight with my family and move to Mexico from Canada?" She basically was like, "Yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, we have somewhere else to put you. So like it's all good," kind of thing. And Brent's like, "No, do you know when it's going to be ready? I'm not going to move my family out there without knowing what's going on. We don't know where this other property is, what condition it's in. And we don't really want to be just like in limbo with our stuff and not sure when we're going to be able to get in the house that we've paid for. And I still have to work. So like I have to set up all of my stuff. It's not a super easy thing to do. On top of carting around like totes and suitcases on top of suitcases on top of suitcases. Like, I don't know if she thought we were just coming with a duffel bag and we were just gonna be like, okay, sure. So Brent's like, okay, well, like what's not ready? Like, does it need to be swept? Is it livable? And she said, yeah, no, we couldn't go in there because there was hurricane damage to the wall. So Brent hangs up with her. We talk about it. I'm like, sorry, I'm not going. I know how excited you are about this, but until we know that it's ready and we have an actual date, I'm just like, I'm not going. I feel really uncomfortable about it. So the next day, it's decided my dad's still going to go out. My dad wants to get on the soil, get out there, see what's going on for himself instead of going back and forth. So he says he'll stay at this extra house and, physically see what's going on. So before he gets there, Brent is still talking with this property manager, kind of like keeping her in the loop that he's still gonna come. He's still expressing his frustrations, like, this really still doesn't make sense to me. What were you doing getting this place ready when you sent me those videos, and why 12 hours before? So then she tries to flip it and say, oh, well, you requested that a bed be in your father-in-law's casita. Side note, we did not request that. It was in the ad that there was a bed in this like apartment for my dad, and when she did the video there wasn't one. So we were like, where's that bed? And then she tried to say, since you haven't sent the rest of the money and you're supposed to be here tomorrow, we haven't been able to get the bed. Excuse me? Like, sweetheart, we have sent you a lot of money. You could have bought multiple beds. And no, having that bed does not delay and not give you the right to be like, oh, we just don't know what time frame we can give you. I can't even make it make sense saying it loud because it doesn't make sense. So I basically said, if she's implying that we send the rest of whatever money's supposed to be due like tomorrow for when we arrive there, like she's got another thing coming. We are not sending a penny more. We stay in Edmonton. My dad forges on with the trip. So when he gets there, he gets to the property and he's like, okay, show me where this hurricane damage is. And she's like, oh, like what hurricane damage? And he said, well, you told my family like we couldn't come because you have to repair the wall from the hurricane damage. And she's like, oh, I don't remember saying that. She said she meant that she needed to fix things like around the place, like fix paint on the wall, and like some of the locks on the doors weren't locking, and refresher from when somebody else moved out and another family was moving in. Yet again, Brent calls back. He's like, all right, I feel like we need a reset. Like there is so much going on here. I'm not sure if it's miscommunication or I'm not interpreting what you're saying properly, but let's just clean the slate now. Let's start from scratch. You let me know when it's going to be ready. That will be like our start date, and let's let everything else go. Then he tells her, you know, since we're not even there, you don't even know when we're coming there. That last bit of money for like the last month that we owed, we're not sending it. We're not going to pay money for a house that we're not even living in yet, and not one that you like don't even know when we're gonna live in yet. So initially she's like, fine. And then it's a few hours later, she calls Brent back and she's like, oh, well, I'm actually looking at everything here now, and even if we take away that 1 month, you know, like that you're not gonna pay, you're still short. So Brent's like, what are you talking about now? So she gave us the total that she said we were supposed to pay, and Brent's like, absolutely not. That was not the amount that was agreed on. You told us that this was the deal if we stayed for 6 months and paid up front. And she goes, oh no, you must have misunderstood. That's if you would have stayed for a year, not 6 months. I just want to make it very clear, I was not present for this conversation, because had I been, this whole situation would have gone very differently. But again, I think Brent was just trying to make everything just smooth and just get it over and done with. So he agrees to pay this balance to her so that we can move forward. Fast forward 2 weeks, the house is ready. My dad is on the other property at this point, but he decides that he's gonna go that day early so that he can just get like little things like toiletries and stuff like that, so that when we arrive the next day, everything is good to go. And when he gets there, there is too many things to count of stuff that wasn't ready. Starting just like when you look at the home, it's very obvious. Like she was talking about that, like all this painting stuff needed to be done to like fix like repairs in the wall. Like nothing was done. The paint was peeling. I'm not sure how old it was. Like it was just peeling off of the walls. The oven, the stove, the microwave all didn't work. The internet was so slow that my dad couldn't even make like phone calls on his WhatsApp. The locks that they said they were fixing in his casita weren't fixing. In fact, like he couldn't even close the door fully. Like you couldn't actually even like have it pulled so like the latch would click. There was no hot water. The sewer line to the washroom that was outside was leaking into the house, so it just smelled so bad. And almost every single tap in the house had one side at least that didn't work. Like you would just go like this and it would just spin and spin and spin like it was gonna fall off. The tub in our room didn't even drain. It just pooled water. And then while my dad is tanning outside, it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. He's just, you know, relaxing, trying to enjoy the day. All of a sudden, he said that he thought that somebody came through the house and shot the window out. Like it was like an explosion. This is a massive window. So there was glass everywhere, all over the patio, into the pool. It was all over the kitchen. Like the whole thing exploded. So they call the property manager. She comes like hours later. When she gets there, she's like, oh, like what, like how did this happen? And my dad's like, I have no idea. But as they're like inspecting the window, you can see like there's like old remnants of like tape on it. So it's like this specific window has been an issue for something before. You can see like that the track also isn't properly in place. So like if you have like a window that's like not sitting like flush with it and you're just like have that pressure on there, it's not like rocket science that this thing is gonna blow out. So before she leaves, she said she's gonna talk to the owner about it and tell them what happened, but someone's gonna have to fix it. So she sends a guy to come over and he just like tarps it off. Same day, the internet guy came to look at the signal, and he was actually just leaving as we arrived. So all of this was going down while we were in the air. So we arrive so excited to finally be there. Getting on the flight, dealing with this one lady at WestJet is a whole other video. You guys, I can't make this stuff up. Like, just for context, I'll just, so you can imagine. We stayed at the airport hotel so that we could be downstairs by 5:30 in the morning so that we were ready when our plane took off at 7:30, and we were downstairs at 5:30, and we were receiving the last call for us to board, almost missing our plane because this woman, she just wanted to mess the trip up already more than it already had before we even took off. Seriously, a whole nother video. Anyways, we finally arrive, and as we're walking through, first off, and I know like this is just renting 101. You should just always know and expect that things aren't always going to look like they do when they're photographed. People choose the best pictures and in the best lighting and all of that stuff, and they edit it, and you can make something look really good through a photograph. And that's definitely what happened here. Like this, it was just not what was expected. On top of that, everything was broken. It felt like everywhere we went, something new was broken, not working. So we're just trying to still be positive. We're like, you know what? Let's just get in the pool, go and have some fun, and just figure this out tomorrow. So about an hour goes by, and Brent gets a phone call from the manager again. And she's like, yeah, I talked to the owners, and we don't believe you. We think that your father-in-law did something to the window. He probably fell in it. She had the nerve to say that when he stayed at the other property, she found like quite a few beer cans there. So you're implying that my father was loaded and fell into the window and he broke it. First of all, it is nobody's business if my dad has 1 beer, 7 beers, 900 beers. Like, what are you doing? And just the nerve to be like, we don't believe you. There were beers at the other casita. So she says we have to pay for it, and it's about $6,000 US. And then she also tossed in that if I need better internet for my job to like upload a video, we'll have to pay another $49 US a month, and it's $750 US just to like activate that. So I pretty much snapped at this point. I was just like, I can't even anymore. Like, what more? I just felt like they were just like kicking the shit out of us and then just charging us for it. And I felt defeated. I felt like every turn there was, like we were just trying to make it positive and be like, hey, whatever, like let's just get there. It's gonna be better when we get there. Everything's gonna be fine. And I just felt completely taken advantage of at that point. Thank God we have a very good family friend out there who is respected in the community. So he set up a meeting with this property manager. He had come to the house, taken videos, taken photos. We took a photo of my dad without like his shirt on to be like, so if he blew through this window with all of this glass, there was enough glass that filled 12 garbage bags up. And he had nothing on him, like not a scratch. And my dad's also the kind of guy who, like, if something happened and it was his fault, he'd be like, shit, I did this, sorry. How do we fix it? Do you know a guy, He'd pay for it. He also was like, like this property isn't ready. What are you doing? So finally she comes clean and she's like, the owner's family was staying here and they were only supposed to be here for a week, but they stayed for 45 days and we basically had to like threaten to like have somebody come and remove them for you guys to come because they didn't want to leave. Which is just so icky because it was like, they kept trying to blame us for like delays, being like, oh yeah, you didn't send us money, so we couldn't get this ready. And meanwhile, like there were people in there that they couldn't get out. And when she was in the backyard saying that they were preparing stuff for us, like there was already the owner's family in there not wanting to leave, and she couldn't give us a date because she just had no idea when they were gonna leave. Finally, Brent's like, we're done. We want our money back. I didn't go to this meeting just because I didn't want to risk us not getting our money back by, you know, like just like flying off the handle or something. So I was like, you know what, it's better if you guys go, I'll just stay here. So she asks Brent, you know, like to talk to me and see if I'll change my mind. And he's like, absolutely not. Like, even him, he's like, I'm at the point now where I feel uncomfortable and I can hold my own and I can protect my family. And you guys have made us feel so uncomfortable, so unsafe. Like, what if something happened and we needed help or we needed somebody to rely on, and you're just gonna like turn around and blame us and then try to charge us money? Not only that, but my family, we have like very like freaky vibes. We can like feel if something's, you know, like not right if we like walk into a room. And I did when I first walked in. Actually, I did when I saw photos of the place. It looked beautiful and I was like feeding off Brent's excitement, and I just thought like, okay, you know, maybe I'm just being a weirdo in my head, and probably an element of like that I'm going to be homesick, so maybe that's not why I'm like as crazy about the place. But there was just something about looking at the photos where I was just like, it just felt like eerie, and I can't explain it because the house doesn't look eerie. But then after the meeting, Brent comes back. He's like, yeah, we're done. We'll figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow. And my dad's like, you know, like once you said that, that weight has kind of been lifted off me. He's like, I can't explain it, but when I walked in this house, like the hair on my arms like stood up, and I just like, I have felt like uneasy and like just chill, like just chills this whole time. And I'm like, oh my God, Dad, me too. Like, I just didn't want to say anything and act like I'm just being weird. So the first night we didn't sleep at all because it was creepy as shit, but also because we're like, we don't even know if we're going to get our money back. Like, we have paid these people 6 months worth of rent. And she was just basically like, oh, I'm going to talk to the owner and see what I can do if you guys don't want to stay. So we didn't get any sleep that night. Finally, in the morning, she calls back and she says that they will refund the money, but they're going to keep $6,500 US. Honestly, at this point, like, it irks me like so much now that they even got like anything out of us. But we were just expecting to like lose so much more that we were just like, you know what, like, let's just whatever. Like, whatever. At least we don't have to go to court for all of it right now. They definitely like had us. So we decided we're not just gonna, you know, fly back home. We're already in Mexico. So we were gonna look for a resort to go to. And it was almost like when we said out loud that like, okay, we're leaving this place, things just started falling into place. And the resort that we got married in 2018, there was like this big blowout sale. It was like 55% off. So we got to book and go there and spend the week there. Unfortunately though, we couldn't go that day. So there was one more night left in that house. And again, something about the house, the entire night we were up, oh, it just breaks my heart because it's like the evilness got to Oriana and she was sick all night. It was like every 15 minutes she was throwing up. By the next morning, there was no bedding that was clean. There were no towels. There was no pillowcases. Like, she was that sick that like everything was soiled by the morning. I was just like, oh, it was just heartbreaking. But I kid you not, within 20 minutes of the van arriving and us being like, I'm sorry, like, we're gonna have to bring a bag. We need to get the F out of this house. And like, just like setting everything up and getting it on the front step and getting her out, like, she stopped. You cannot make this up. So that's why we're back. Long story short, there were other properties that they had out there, but again, like I said, I didn't realize how hard it was to find like as many bedrooms and rooms as we needed. And then also for the price that we had like budgeted for too, right? So I mean, now obviously I know why the deal was what it was, because the house was like no way what was advertised. And by that point I was like, I don't want to stick around here and go look at anything at this point. I just felt so exhausted, just like so mentally done. I just started crying. I was just like, I want to go home. I also kind of looked at it as like it was an obvious sign that I think we needed to be home. Everything like started to fall into place when we said that. And it's just really where I need to be right now too. Even if we were going to stay in Mexico, I was already needing to come back like every month because there's things that are coming down the pipe that I have to be more accessible for. So it just felt like the right thing to do. And so yeah, now we've just decided that with some of the money that we had saved, we will use some of it to go on a few vacations this winter instead. I think for right now, resorts are the way to go. And then we can maybe like tiptoe in and see if we want to like experiment with like a month vacation at like an Airbnb or something and just go from there. You know, like why all at once, Cheryl? It's been a huge lesson learned. I don't even, like I said, I don't even know if I've processed it all. It's just overwhelming to think of like the fact that we've spent almost a year planning for it, selling a lot of our things, packing our stuff, moving our family. Our cat had to come to the resort. Like we brought our cat to a resort. We had like 15 pieces of luggage. Just the price to get even that to Mexico and then had to bring it back is like we took a 2-week vacation and paid astronomically for it. Like I said, it's at the point now where it's comical because I'm like, what happened there? What happened? Like I said in the last Wine Wednesday, it's Mercury retrograde and retrograde. We felt it. We're feeling it. I think I read it's only until the 27th of October, so it's like I'm just counting down the days. So that's it, you guys. That's our Mexico adventure. Our Mexico nightmare. Thanks so much for letting me vent. I actually feel a lot better just like sharing it with you guys and getting it off my chest. What I'd really love to do is plan like, you know, a true crime family vacation somewhere. That would be really nice. Like that's probably what I should have, you know, invested all of my time and energy into. Lesson learned, c'est la vie. We will get there. Okay, I'm babbling again. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll miss you terribly until then. Make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon.